Hi, good morning. This is Marie from Eat Well to Live Well. I just wanted to say good morning to everybody and just kind of check in. It's day 11 of my carnivore journey. And I, s- it's not easy for me to say day 11 of this journey because I did actually start carnivore back in June of 2021 and was on it a little over 2 months. And then my husband had passed away suddenly. And for me, traumatically, but for him, very peacefully. So I'm grateful for that. But it kind of sent me into a tailspin. I was living away from everybody I knew, except for a couple people, that I had met in the couple years. We lived way up northern Maine, almost into Canada. I could actually see Canada from my front porch. Um, so he was my anchor there, and it kind of threw me, and I didn't have any peace until I decided that I was going to move back closer to home and family. So I began that process, and packing up a home by yourself, finding a home for our younger, bigger dog, which I couldn't handle on my own. Um, having all the chickens go back to their original home that we'd had. I mean, there was a lot of loss and a lot of big changes and a lot of stress. And stress is not a good justification for going off a path that you feel is the best for you. Um, but it is a reason why sometimes it happens. It doesn't justify it, it doesn't excuse it, but it does explain it a bit. And I started to veer off carnivore, and I was trying to. I had I had lost some weight. I had gotten below 200 for the first time. I'd only done it once before in my adult life. And I like to joke, I only saw it for like 90 seconds and then the scale would bump back up to 200 something. And I mean, that almost literally was true. I couldn't maintain it for more than a day. And my body just did not want to let go of stress. I'm sorry, of pounds and excess weight. And um, so I was, maybe right around 186, 185 at that point, and feeling great. I had been very strict carnivore. I had some dairy, but I was beginning to limit it. And basically just meat and eggs. And I had taken out obviously all vegetables and fruits, almonds, chocolate, all that superfood stuff, spinach, kale, all of those supposedly superfoods that we thought we were doing well by eating. They didn't help me to get to an optimal weight or to even feel that good in my body. And um, I didn't have any medical issues I was dealing with, but I just didn't feel my best, and I knew I wasn't at my best. I knew there was something better for me. And so once I began the carnivore diet, I started to learn about oxalates. And I love Sally K. Norton. I have her book, Super Toxic Foods. And I knew that once I took those out, things were going to get better, and they did. My sleep improved and all of that. So skin was clearing up, and the scale was going down, and I had more energy. I was going out. I was walking for up to 5 miles a day. I had plans to go even further, and then he passed, and I had a few more days of walking, and then I just didn't have it in me anymore. I was heartbroken and lost. And so, anyways, I finally came to the decision I was going to move, and then began to busy myself with those chores of packing up and listing the house and finding another house and purchasing and all of that. So all the things you got to do when someone passes or when you move were all happening at the same time. And I ended up about 200 miles, 250 miles, I think, away, closer to home. I was still a couple hundred miles away from family, but it was the only place I could find at the time. And I was feeling desperate, like I needed to get out of there before winter hit. Winter up north can be a little rugged, and I didn't want to do it alone. So I did find a place. However, I didn't know anybody around, and it was kind of lonely. I did have my dog, and I had my cat with me, and we just kind of hunkered in for the winter, and I got through. I didn't get back on Carnivore. I tried several times, and I would end up giving in to temptations and getting a small pizza or getting a bag of chips or something. Those are my comfort foods for most people. It's carbohydrates. And I have an addiction to those things, and I know I do. And the only time I have any peace from them is when I abstain from them. And I don't make them a part of my life. I don't bring them into my house. I don't dwell in the grocery store aisle looking at the bags of chips or frozen pizzas or ice cream. All of those comfort foods, sweet potatoes, I loved them. But they don't love me. And they don't treat me well. They don't treat my body well. So that was in November of 2021, or December 1st of 2021, that I actually moved. And I stayed there until April of 2023. So I took a job close by, and it became something that was very stressful. I loved the people there. I loved the clients, and I loved the staff, and I loved my boss. I truly, truly did. But the atmosphere was one of chaos and stress and constant change. So chaos, right? And it was wearing on me, and I started kind of following along. I'm very easily influenced by others, unfortunately. And I started going with the gluten-free products and thinking I was doing something good for my body. I was getting away from dairy, but yet I was doing goat dairy, so goat cheese and goat milk, which I'll be honest, I still do from time to time. But what was happening was I was starting to, I kept my weight off actually, but I don't think I kept the inflammation away, because I was starting to get a little bit puffier and not feeling real well. I got sick a couple of times, which I usually don't. So that was a little different. And so for about a year and a half, I was able to maintain, a little over a year and a half, I was able to maintain the weight loss. And I don't want to keep going, I am going to keep going back to that because it is reflective of what's happening in my body. However, I don't feel weight loss is the reason why you should be doing carnivore. It can be one of the reasons, but not the only reason. Because your body can not release if it needs to do some healing. So you can find a lot of information on that, of why people maybe aren't losing weight. There's many videos by great people. And I'm just enjoying some sunshine today too. So anyways, I had maintained that, and I had tried to get back on carnivore, and I had some success staying on it, but I always felt a resistance to it by those around me. And I was struggling. When I abstained completely, I don't struggle, if that makes any sense. People might think the abstaining is a struggle. It's really not. If you get a couple days under your belt of abstaining, at least from the food addictions, it gets a little easier, and it doesn't really feel like a struggle. It has to be a decision and a choice and a commitment to yourself for better health, that you abstain. And then the struggle for me, anyways, stops. But I didn't want to. And in the end of April this year, my father passed away. And that was devastating for me emotionally. And I'm going to try to keep it together. That was hard on me, especially after my husband had passed a year and a half before that, because he was my anchor. My husband was. He was my anchor that kind of kept me from going to woo-woo, la 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 la, in the fairy realm. I love nature. I'm very enchanted with the gardens and being out in nature. And he kind of helped keep me grounded a bit so I could maintain a balance. And then my dad, and it's not to diminish anyone else's role in my life, but my dad was always stable. There was a stability there with him and his love and his support that kind of cut me loose. And I felt like I was floating around, like my anchor was gone. I'd kind of gotten caught up in an area, and I was there for a bit, but then, when my dad passed, it threw me, and I moved back down closer to family and moved into his home. And in the 4 to 6 months, I'd say when I really noticed what happened, maybe 5 months, I had put 15 pounds back on. So I was back at 199.7 a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm going backwards. If I get over that 200 point, I may spend the next 30 years again never being able to get below it. I wasn't thinking, I have the tools and the knowledge to reverse that, but I was feeding the emotional, and I was allowing myself to be influenced, and it's no blame on anybody else, because ultimately we make our choices. So we are responsible for our choices and for where we are in life. And people tend, I'm just kind of rambling about a lot of things. People tend to want to blame an illness or a person or a job or a location or situation for their life not being the way they want it to be. And that's wrong. And you're never going to have any peace about it if you're constantly putting the blame on something outside of yourself, because ultimately we are responsible for where we're at in life. We are responsible for our choices. We are responsible for our thoughts and our beliefs. Now, I want to say real quickly, our belief system develops before we're like 8 years old. So if you believe you're going to get old, get sick, and then die, if you believe that enough, that's what will happen, because you make it happen. When you believe something so strongly and you think about it a lot and you talk about it a lot, it sends a signal out to the universe, and so it brings you something to match that signal, right? So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, when you become aware of that, you have the choice to change it. I've done this with depression, and I'm going to do this with my weight and my health. And I am doing it. And I've just had a few hiccups along the way and a few things that kind of made me unstable. Like, I remember the one time I got below 200 once before in my life. I was in a relationship at the time that felt very stable, and I felt safe. in my body and in my life that I could drop the weight, and I was exercising a lot, and it was that stability. So when you lose your husband, after losing your sister, after losing your best friend, after losing your granddaughter, and then you lose your dad, that's not a stable platform to stand on. And but ultimately, isn't it up to me to get stable? Isn't it up to me to be my own rock, my anchor, my safe harbor? And moving into my dad's house has felt like a safe harbor for me, even though there's many things to be done, and there's many things to be done regarding my other home that I'm trying to sell. Um, and it's not without some difficulties and some sacrifices, but I'm building stability day by day. And I don't know what the whole purpose of this was. I guess just to share a little bit of background with you. I've never been a great exerciser. I've never been an athlete of any kind. I've been overweight my whole life. Even when I got below 200, doesn't sound like much, right? If you think about it, it's like, yeah, well, that's no big deal. Many people are. They're still overweight, or they're still sick. And yes, I was still overweight, but I was feeling good. I was feeling good because I was doing something good for my body, and I was starting to get active. And the more pounds that you can release, it kind of, not only mentally does it charge you up a bit, feeling good about yourself, but your body actually will nudge you to get out and move. And that's what I had done then, and that's what I'm starting to get back into now. I just went out for a walk. My road is not fun to walk on. It's a byway, pretty much. There's fast cars, and there's a lot of cars and trucks and stuff. And so I actually decided to just get appropriately dressed and shoes on my feet, got into the truck, and drove to a place where there was a less traveled road. It still was kind of busy, but it's a little bit nicer. They don't go as fast. And it's just a nice flat walk. So I did that for about 20 to 25 minutes. Not a long time, and I wanted to be out there longer, but I got other things to do this morning, so I kept it at that with the idea that maybe I'll go out again this afternoon. So let's bring it back around. I am on day 11. I did a 24-hour fast yesterday. I ended that fast at about 4:30 with 2 lamb loins chops. OMG, those were so good. I don't always like lamb, but those were so tasty, and I felt good. I felt really good. I'm starting to feel like ruminant meats, like beef, lamb, goat, are going to be what's best for me at this point. I don't know if I'm going to be completely 100% lion diet of ruminant meat, salt, and water only, because I do like my coffee in the morning. And I do put a little splash of goat milk in it. Not a lot, but a little bit, just to change the color a little. And like I said, I'm not going to be totally strict on that. I might have some bacon sometimes, or I might have salmon, or I might have chicken, but I don't feel as good when I eat those things. I mean, I feel okay. I mean, who doesn't love bacon? If you don't love bacon, you shouldn't be here. But I'm trying to stay away from them for a little bit. It's not like I'm abstaining. I'm not addicted to any of those things. It's just that I don't feel that at the moment it's optimal for me, because I'm really focused on healing my body. I want to heal my liver. I want to heal my skin. I want to heal just the general feeling of I'm not depressed, but I'm not as energetic as I want to be. I can get a lot done, but my mind and my heart's not really into it. I can just, I can work until I'm bone tired, but um, it's because it has to be done. It's not because I want to do it. And I want to be so energetic that I want to get out and do something. I want to work outside. I want to go for a walk. I want to go hiking. Something like that, just to move my body. I want to lift weights, or lift heavy things like all this lumber, which needs to be moved. So, um, but carnivore in general can do that for you, and I think ruminant meats specifically for me, I think is going to help me get there as well. So the plan today is to probably have a couple meals. I think around in about an hour or so, I might have some beef and beef fat, cook that up, and then later I've been eating a lot earlier, around 4:30, and then I'm done for the night, to give my digestion time and the ability to digest properly before going to bed. And that works out well for me. I'd forgotten I like that feeling of just having water in the evening. And sometimes I'll have a little bit of element. I'll have the chocolate salt element, which does have a little bit of stevia, but I try to not have that every day. The goal is to eventually take all that away and not feel like I need it or want it. And right now I don't feel I need it, but I want it. I want something just a little different at night. It's a soothing, warm drink. So it's kind of like a hot chocolate. I think that's it. So I'd love to talk to you if you have questions about the carnivore diet. You could say, yeah, but you're 11 days in. What do you know? Well, I've been studying it for a couple of years. I've been active with it. I've been on it off and on. And I know the struggles that come with life. And I know that if I get back on it, I will feel better. Things will start to shift in the right direction. But I know how easy it is to get off track because I've lived it, I've done it, and I'm finding ways to get back on track and to do what's best for my body, to value myself enough to do what's best for me. So there you go. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Get out into the sunshine. Soak it up, because here in Maine, winter's coming soon, and I'm going to soak up as much of the sun as I can without the humidity of the summer. So it's a beautiful time of year. The leaves are starting to change. I was noticing that this morning. It's beautiful here. Thank you, and have a blessed day.